Myles Garrett failed to appear. Numerous quarterbacks who performed better stayed at home. However, Shedeur Sanders, who was statistically inconspicuous as a rookie, brought cameras and first-class lodging to San Francisco. He only had a QBR of 18.9. His alternate fill-in for the Pro Bowl. The NFL still gave him the red carpet despite this, and fans continued to swoon. If you want to see the full tale with all the messy twists that aren't shown on highlight reels, subscribe. Additionally, you should definitely subscribe if you plan to stay tuned to watch how this Browns quarterback crisis unfolds. Critics see it as the epitome of a softened Pro Bowl, where Instagram and legacy are more important than yards and victories. Supporters see it as an indication of change. The focus of football is moving away from numbers and toward stories. It was more than simply a chance to reward a rookie quarterback. The Browns are prepared to build on this strategic change by bringing in Danny Breyer to develop a playbook that capitalizes on Sanders' advantages. Cleveland made it clear that his nomination to the Pro Bowl is more about vision than ceremony. This might be the start of a franchise that is based on promise, persona, and platform in addition to output, as the front office positions Sanders as a long-term leader. The second Shedeur Sanders touchdown in San Francisco would spark a debate that the NFL was unprepared for. A fifth-round pick with an 18 and a rookie quarterback with poor stats. With VIP-level excitement usually reserved for league MVPs, 9 QBR arrived at the Pro Bowl. That is a lightning strike, not merely a plot. And the reaction was immediate. Some people sneered and pointed at the stat sheet. This is what the Pro Bowls become, they said, citing over 20 quarterbacks with superior performance indicators. Shedeur didn't belong on paper. He didn't stand out statistically. He wasn't even selected in the first round, nor was he a sensational rookie. He was an alternative and a substitute player. However, the NFL didn't give a damn because Shedeur Sanders' contributions aren't measured in yards or touchdowns. It's visibility, marketability, cultural significance, and a catchy name that makes people click, speak, and pay attention. Box scores had no bearing on his choice. It has to do with buzz. The buzz was overwhelming, whether you liked it or not. The league extended a warm welcome. His motel offers genuinely individualized service. Family members arrived by plane. His arrival was handled like a scene from a movie. His brother Deion Sanders Jr. meticulously recorded, edited, and disseminated it all through wealthy media. It was not a silent arrival. This was a successful advertising campaign that was passed off as a football game. Audiences that had likely not watched a Pro Bowl in years were reached by his moment. However, we must not assume that this occurred in a vacuum. This is a component of a broader change in the NFL. Once a valid celebration of outstanding on-field achievement, the Pro Bowl has evolved into a hybrid display. A combination of a marketing experiment, a content engine, and an entertainment event. And the key to that change was Shedeur's presence, irrespective of his QBR. This goes beyond a single player. It has to do with a prototype. A person who fulfills the requirements. Digital fluency, narrative appeal, intergenerational legacy, and brand potential are now the NFL's top priorities. Since high school, Shedeur, the son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, has been scrutinized. He has encountered doubt on many fronts. His time as an HB at CU Jackson State, his move to Colorado, his decline on the NFL draft board, and now he's not only getting by but making headlines. Critics blame his inclusion on the illusion of meritocracy, but they fail to recognize how merit is changing. Engagement, relevancy, and the capacity to attract fans from outside the conventional football realm are all considered quality in today's NFL. It's not a coincidence. That's a tactic. And the league was very explicit about that. The tactic is Shedeur. It wasn't an error to welcome such luxury. It was a sign. A strategic investment in a player they think may advance the league in terms of storytelling, visibility, and audience retention in addition to gameplay. Even the Browns witnessed it. It was more than simply a strategic choice to choose Danny Breyer as coordinator of the pass game. It was a declaration, an affirmation that they are expanding on Shedeur's abilities. They are not letting him grow in the background like a rookie. With him in mind, they are reorganizing the offense, streamlining reads, improving passing concepts, and developing a plan that complements his personality and potential. Institutional buy-in like that doesn't just happen. It's well organized. Long-term. A franchise quarterback is the target of this infrastructure. Therefore, the Browns are getting ready for year 2 with him as a focal point, while the rest of the league questions whether he deserves a Pro Bowl shirt. Shedeur, meantime, arrived prepared, poised, and neither defensive nor performative. Cameras followed him as he represented his team, spoke with the media, and welcomed the spotlight without flinching. Critics attempted to discredit him in real time, while his family documented him. Contrast that with seasoned, renowned, and supposedly missing veterans like Myles Garrett. Something is changing. The Pro Bowl no longer has the same appeal for many seasoned stars. The attention, the work, and the journey are not worth it. For gamers, skipping the event is not only normal, but expected when dealing with ailments or aiming for postseason duration. It's the other way around for up-and-coming celebrities like Shedeur. Now is the time. An opportunity to make an impression on the cultural scoreboard rather than the stat sheet. He didn't think twice. The platform was what he desired. He put it to use. And the outcome was a full-fledged media frenzy that, for better or worse, brought the Pro Bowl back into the spotlight. It's crazy how rapidly it shifted beyond football. It turned into a dispute over legitimacy, power, and who should represent the league. It turned into a referendum on how much importance we place on off-field value, family relationships, and heritage. And Shedeur became iconic in that discussion. A case study of how professional sports are changing, not just a quarterback. The NFL was also well aware of its actions. They needed someone or something to give the Pro Bowl a sense of urgency, relevance, and conversation value. That was Shedeur's contribution. Pro Bowl metrics likely benefited more from the conversation than from the previous 5 years put together. The strategy was even influenced by the criticism. The attention increases with the volume of the criticism. The media went crazy. There were heated discussions on all platforms. Furthermore, Shedeur remained unconcerned throughout it all. Calm, collected, conscious of the scrutiny but not shaped by it. Not that the critique wasn't important. The problem is that it lost. In actuality, you watched even if you didn't agree with his choice. You listened. You participated. And that's the scoreboard that counts for the NFL. The league is now engaged in more than just the pursuit of athletic dominance. It is battling for cultural significance. And just when they needed it most, Shedeur granted them a victory. Certainly legacy was a factor. Shedeur had a platform that most rookies don't have because he is Deion Sanders' son. However, pressure, expectations, and ongoing skepticism are all part of that same tradition. He compares everything he does. Every step is enlarged. Nevertheless, he continues to appear. His path hasn't been predetermined, from high school to college to now. It was constructed with a microscope. And he has continued to advance at every turn. He isn't just navigating the NFL anymore. It's being reshaped by him. It's unclear if he will be a long-term franchise quarterback, but for now, he represents the direction the game is heading. A player whose worth extends beyond the field. An individual brand. And don't assume that this is the final time Shedeur will be featured in a headline. The NFL is evolving. The distinctions between influencers and athletes have vanished. One of the first people to truly exemplify that transformation is Shedeur Sanders. He's doing more than just football. He is changing our definition of success in the contemporary game. Leave your comments below. Do you agree with Shedeur, or do you believe the NFL has overreacted to the spectacle? Don't forget to subscribe since this story isn't going away anytime soon, and hit like if you have strong feelings about it. It's only the beginning. Since Shedeur Sanders' Pro Bowl film appeared on social feeds, the NFL's traditionalists have been wriggling. Being treated like a Hall of Famers is unusual for a rookie, especially a rookie who was selected in the 5th round. Yes, it wasn't comfortable. But the visuals weren't the only thing that hurt. It was the indisputable change that his whole Pro Bowl experience symbolized. This went beyond a single person attending a game. This was the NFL establishing a new standard. More calculating, louder, and more flamboyant. And Shedeur wasn't merely a cog in the wheel. The plan was him. His entrance was a blatant example of strategy. Handled family trip, media rollout, and personalized greetings. It was all staged, filmed, and shown on many channels as if it were the red carpet at the Super Bowl. And in a sense it was. Because of what the event now signifies, not because of what the game meant. Merit used to be a factor in the Pro Bowl. The best merit in pure statistics. It is now a hybrid though. Virality meets visibility, and performance meets personality. It's about who can create content that gets clipped, shared, and transformed into conversations in order to keep fans interested in between seasons. Shedeur speaks all of it with ease. He didn't show up at the celebration. The party was him. And he's controversial for precisely that reason. Because the Pro Bowl used to be a reward, a career milestone, and a symbol that the effort, the grind, and the stats finally added up for many fans and even some players. Then Shedeur enters the picture as a low-production substitute who is treated like a king or queen. Here's the unsettling reality though. The Pro Bowl was not altered by Shedeur. The NFL did. For years, they have been slowly making this change, transforming it into a content engine, reducing the physicality, and substituting entertainment for competition. And everyone is suddenly recalling what the Pro Bowl used to be once someone like Shedeur got into that spotlight and flourished there. But clicks aren't fueled by the past. The NFL is counting on that. They need people who can connect the dots between younger, non-statistical consumers and more traditional football fans. Shedeur also contributes that generational divide. He is the quarterback in a post-highlight world when character matters just as much as ability. Disrespecting the game is not the point. The goal is to evolve it. When it comes to evolution, Cleveland isn't far behind. The Browns are preparing a whole offensive overhaul centered around Shedeur, while the internet is arguing whether he should wear a Pro Bowl jersey. It is hardly a low-stakes experiment to hire Danny Breyer as coordinator of the pass game. It's dedication. It acknowledges that Shedeur's growth is essential to their future. Coaches of their caliber are not hired as backups. An attacking vision cannot be realigned for a placeholder. Furthermore, you don't undertake all of that merely to give in to public pressure. This is a premeditated action. It combines foresight with football. The Browns are seeing past the commotion. They regard Shedeur's long-term contributions as much as his immediate abilities. A quarterback with national recognition, a grasp of media presence, and the potential to carry a club and a brand if properly cultivated. And that brand is growing stronger every week. Because content was not the only thing that well-off media produced. They created the Pro Bowl storyline. The entire weekend felt like a behind-the-scenes affair, from hotel welcomes to sideline conversations. Shedeur had moments that weren't just happening. They were designed with reach in mind. Additionally, that reach is already yielding results. He created a narrative focal point out of a mid-season exhibition. He transformed a different choice into a discussion about excellence, marketing, and contemporary relevance. He became the protagonist of a game that had been having trouble attracting players until recently. Additionally, the NFL's response contradicts any notion that this was a one-time publicity gimmick. Because the one thing you weren't doing was ignoring him, regardless of whether you were yelling about partiality or encouraging him. And the whole point is right there. Pretending Shedeur had a flawless debut season wasn't the point. Recognizing that the league's priorities are changing was the goal. They seek sportsmen who can use the resources of the digital age while bearing the burden of legacy, as well as storytellers, brand builders, and content creators. And who better than Deion Sanders' son? That legacy is reciprocal. Yes, it brings heat, but it also opens doors. Shedeur is aware that people doubt every chance and reject every honor. Despite living in that shadow, he continued to move forward. He isn't afraid of the limelight. He enters it head-on. However, there is more to the spectacle than just the cameras, staging, and carefully chosen moments. Shedeur's journey hasn't been easy. He has had to prove himself on all fronts and adjust and adapt. He helped elevate at Jackson State. B. He became one of the most talked-about college athletes in the nation after graduating from CU's program and moving to Colorado. Then came the fifth-round snub and the draft. However, he has now turned that narrative around, forcing those who doubted whether he would even downplay it in the NFL to discuss him in the context of a Pro Bowl. Perhaps they disagree with the logic. Perhaps they believe it devalues the honor. However, they are conversing. They have gotten engaged. They're listening. And that kind of traction is invaluable in this league. The Pro Bowl wasn't taken over by Shedeur. He achieved its new objective. Because Shedeur arrived completely focused, whereas the league's best players take a break or take precautions. He did not view it as a pointless display. It was like a platform to him. and there is no more obvious contrast. The generational gap is most noticeable there. These events could no longer be valuable to veterans. However, it's crucial for a young athlete attempting to establish a position on the field and in the community. This is an opportunity. It's leverage. The game is chess. Where does all of this go then? To begin with, Shedeur simply applied pressure to the Browns. It's the kind of good pressure that makes a team take structure, quarterback development, and play calling seriously. Because when a rookie quarterback is receiving this much attention, you need to support it with results, or else you run the danger of appearing dumb in front of a league that is already monitoring every snap. And this is the NFL's future. Shedeur and other players are no longer ancillary. They play a key role in the league's survival plan. The NFL will need more players who can accomplish what Shedeur just did, dominate the debate even when the metrics aren't elite, as audience behavior changes and younger viewers seek connections beyond XS and OS. Because relevance has its own currency in this new ecology. Additionally, Shedeur's Pro Bowl moment was a flex, a statement that he wasn't waiting for his turn. Even if you believe he hasn't yet earned it, he is here to influence the situation. The stat heads are enraged then. It shakes the traditionalists. However, the league is keeping a careful eye on things because, if this is what a rookie selected in the 5th round can provide in their first season, what will happen when the play catches up with the profile? When the numbers begin to align with the story, what happens? It becomes pretty interesting at that point. Right now, the NFL's playbook is quite apparent. Rethink what is relevant. Additionally, Shedeur Sanders just emerged as the league's surprising franchise for that aim. Due to